Next up, we have Erin Perkins. Erin is an accessibility educator and the CEO and founder of Maple AQ. She is a deaf-blind woman who will share her personal experiences and challenge us to think about how we can step outside our own comfort zone and make small, easy changes to improve our accessibility across the board. Welcome, Erin.
If you last 24 hours without sound, no sound on your phone, not being able to have a simple conversation with your neighbor outside, complete silence. Could you do it for 48 hours? $72 hours. How many of you started to get uncomfortable with it? You know, we live in a world that is incredibly noisy and having no access to sound. This is actually normal for 350 million people in the world, as they have a disabling hearing loss. Did you know that people with disabilities are the largest minority group in the United States over any other minority group? This group crosses boundaries such as age, ethnicity, gender, race, sexual orientation, and socioeconomic status. So corporations actually need to start prioritizing accessibility from day one. Even if it's too late to start from day one, you need to start right now. Here are 3 ways I'm going to talk about why it's important to be accessible for people with disabilities. We want to unlearn the assumption that disabled people should be responsible for all of their own accessibility needs and start accepting responsibility. Why companies should prioritize accessibility and start putting it at the forefront. Why accessibility is better for everyone, not just for people with disabilities. I'm Erin Perkins. I'm a deafblind woman who has had to face obstacles my entire life with the lack of accessibility everywhere I go, including at my job for 11 years with a boss that always told me she almost didn't hire me. While I was there, I would often question whether I really needed an interpreter during meetings or why I couldn't just answer the phone. I was also constantly told that I wasn't good enough or experienced enough to be a manager. Despite all of the comments and discouraging, I still wanted the opportunity to move up within the company that I was at, but I didn't know how, or did I really have the support? During my time at the company, the American Disabilities Act always weighed on the back of my mind. I thought that the American Disabilities Act was designed to protect all people with disabilities rights. But, you know, this act is only 31 years old. It's actually younger than me. And yet, realizing so many companies fail miserably in creating access for people with disabilities. Many businesses of all sizes have this tendency to shift responsibility back and expectations back onto people with disabilities, and that we should know everything about what should be provided to them, what the laws are. This often results in frustration and doubt. The reality is companies should accept a responsibility on providing support. When we ask for support, don't question what we need. We know that we don't like being questioned about our ability. Yes, I can speak, I can hear, but I can only hear with the help of my tool. When I am questioned, this often leads me to doubt my own ability within my disability. I know my own limits. People with disabilities do not need someone else questioning our own abilities. Now, we also don't expect you to know everything there is. but also come to the conclusion that we don't know everything, especially when it comes to the company we're working for. We need this to be a collaboration rather than it being me versus you. It's also really important to remember that there is no one size fits all. Even if you have created something that is supposed to be acceptable to most, there just might be that one person it's not acceptable for. Truth be told, I stayed at this company way longer than I ever should have, because I had this internal fear that I would never get hired anywhere else because of my disability. Unfortunately, after 11 years of dedication, I was laid off. Once I got over the shock of being laid off, I knew I had two choices. I could apply to work at another company and go through the exact same thing all over again. Or I could start my own business. So guess which one I chose? I chose the harder one. I started my own business. As I started my business, I was going on swimmingly. Not that starting a business easy. When I came across my first obstacle, I had purchased this online course and realized after the purchase that none of the videos were captured. I wasn't even making any money. I was bootstrapping. I invested a good amount in the course, and I struggled with the course. And I vowed to myself, I would never buy another course again unless I knew for sure all the videos were captioned. Here's how I started. Big companies such as the company I used to work for, they didn't really do that great of a job of giving me access. So why should I ever expect a small business to provide me with access? So this resulted in my journey of accessibility education for companies of all sizes. Did you know people with disabilities are more likely to be self-employed than those with no disabilities? One of the most common reasons that people with disabilities are self-employed because they need that flexibility that cannot be found when working for someone else. Some of these issues can be related to transportation and flexible scheduling. These are usually the most primary reason among multitude of others. I wanted to share the statement made by Ola Al-Jumi. She is the founder of Project Ascend. She brings up an important point about disability. Being disabled is the one group you don't have to be born into. You can become disabled at any time. So my fight for equality and disability justice should be your fight, because you may very well become a person with a disability one day. The reality is the world was and is still designed for a heteronormative white male. Do you realize that people with disabilities are likely to be the original hackers? We have to hack our daily lives as very little is designed for. One of my favorite examples that I want to share is to take a look at the deaf community. Within our community, we were communicating via texting in the early 2000s before anybody else would. We used B, we used Sidekick, we used BlackBerry. Now, it's completely normal to be texting with one another. I mean, there might be some people who might pick up the phone, might question that logic a little bit. I also want to share that I've been part of this online world, blogging and, the internet. It just became a world that had no barrier to me. Everything was written, everything was easy. I didn't have to try so hard to understand people as if I met them in person. I actually continue to stick with blogging even as the platform shifted to platforms like Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, TikTok, podcast, Clubhouse. all these new platforms created to bring people together and all the different things you can do with them. However, I will share the last couple of years have started leaving me with this feeling of being left behind again. With the newest and the greatest thing coming to the forefront, accessibility priorities are being shuffled to the bottom of the list once again. Audio-focused platforms become all the rage again. I mean, you do remember radio, talk radio. So how do we ensure that accessibility is a priority for a company? We start looking at corporations that prioritize accessibility. By prioritizing accessibility, it will put them steps ahead of other companies that don't prioritize accessibility. The reason being is the company that prioritizes accessibility, they attract people with disabilities as customers and their peers around them. The employees are more likely to be innovative. And because accessibility was built in from the start, there's less maintenance and upkeep to deal with. I want to talk about companies that do hit the mark on striving to be accessible as possible for the employee as well as the consumer. The other company that I'm going to highlight, Boeing, they have made disability a huge, enormous priority in their business. One of the things they do is they do a yearly disability employment tracker. This allows them to benchmark their disability inclusion practices. They also have a defined accommodation policy to ensure prompt responses to employee requests. So they're really focused on disability inclusion inside the company, which is incredibly important. We also have Booz Allen Hamilton. They're dedicated to enabling the next generation of disabled professionals. This company hosts an annual disability mentoring day. This program will pair employees directly with students who have disabilities. And we also have Google. They have a central accessibility team. This group ensures that accessibility is incorporated into everything Google does by conducting user research, training all teams on best accessibility practices, and regularly testing for common online issues. Now, I get it. These businesses have deep pockets and all their resources at their fingertips. And other companies should look to them as examples of how they can be better at being accessible for people with disabilities. You know, they started somewhere and continue to make accessibility a priority for the company and the people around them. I want to encourage you to get out of your own way and stop creating based on the assumption that there's only one way to do things. There's so many things out there that are marketed as this is the only way. This is the best way to do things. It's so far from the truth. We want to shift our focus of accessibility to be more of the inclusive design. A design that considers the full range of human diversity with respect to ability, language, culture, gender, age, other forms of human differences. So we can and we should do better. So let's take a look at what some of the things we can do to improve going forward. We can acknowledge that to work with people with disability is a collaborative effort. Don't put all the responsibility on them. Companies have to stop shuffling accessibility priorities to the bottom of the to-do list and start prioritizing. Take a look at where you need to improve accessibility within your own company and starting with your own employees and customers. Understanding and knowing that being accessible benefits more people than it does not. Start shifting your focus that includes the full range of human diversity. So I just want to share a little quick tidbit. When I was doing the drive one of this platform to make sure everything ran smoothly, I actually had to do a quick educational session to ensure that this event would be accessible by making sure that the captions would be turned on for the entire event. And this happens more often than you realize. To be honest, people with disabilities are not expecting things to be absolutely perfect, but we do want to have the same access as you, an able-bodied person. And the way we can get there is with a little help from you for making this shift to be a more acceptable world for both you and me. So I also wanted to share that any company that you guys are working for and you really want to make sure that accessibility is brought to the forefront, I am happy to do workshops and lectures. It would be a very collaborative thing to make sure that we address things that are within your company to make sure it's more focused. And so feel free to reach out to me at erin@mabeleq.com. And here's the thing, remember, progress, not perfection. So you can connect with me on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, email, my website. All right, thank you.
Thank you so much, Erin. That was just amazing. Thank you so much for sharing your story, making us all better at what we do in being able to be active participants and effective allies. For me, at least, I didn't realize this was the largest minority group. So thank you for educating all of us.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
It's our pleasure.